If you were thinking about the strongest aliens in the series, you might be inclined towards thinking about more powerful aliens like Alien X, Atomics, Clockwork, Way Big, or Feedback. I assume those would come to mind. When talking about strong aliens in Ben 10, the community tends to focus on the planet-busting, cosmic-level transformations. I wanted to dive into the real heavy hitters who don't have any special world-breaking abilities like reality manipulation, time control, or the ability to catch and redistribute the Big Bang with their hands. Let's get into the aliens whose physical strength tends to define them. There's something about unbelievable strength that's always been appealing. It's easy to label it as boring, run-of-the-mill, or overdone, but when used right, super strength can be a real spectacle. It's not a deeply complex idea, but when layered with good storytelling or interesting set pieces, it can be the foundation of a really amazing character, or in this case, any alien transformation within the Omnitrix. Today I want to talk about our favourite street-level heavy hitters and how they stack up compared to one another. First on our list we have a real mascot for the franchise, Forearms. Ben's first transformation to stand in a league of his own when it comes to strength, even against an arsenal of aliens who, for the most part, are able to rip through metal with relative ease. Apart from maybe, in the original 10, probably just grey matter. First appearing in episode 2 of the classic series, Washington, BC. He's the iconic strong guy of the series. He really adds to that power fantasy that makes the classic series so appealing. Forearms has a simple enough design. He's alien enough to not be a run-of-the-mill strong guy, but not so alien that his strength doesn't really feel grounded in reality. As much as I like a more out-there alien transformation like Atomics, their strength starts to feel a little less grounded, and as fun of a transformation as Atomics is, the strength doesn't really feel like it's tied to his physicality. Unlike Forearms, whose feats of strength feel really fitting and appropriate for how he looks. Probably the most concise way I can put this is that every single feat of strength that Forearms shows has an appropriate amount of weight behind it. What makes Forearms stand out is just how engaging the fights with him are. It comes down to the directing more than anything. I was going to go through a few of his best fights, but looking back at them, there's not a single fight in Classic that stands out as less engaging than others. They're all extremely interesting. I think what makes Forearms stand out the most to me is just how much Ben loves this transformation. It's infectious, it's hard not to love. Next up we have the next big strong guy that was introduced, humongousaur. He suffers largely from the same issues that plague Forearms. His powers mostly boil down to the fact that he's really strong, though that secondary ability is seemingly forgotten about by the time we get to Omniverse. The other complaint I often hear about Humongousaur and Forearms alike is their overuse. If we're getting to the practicality of introducing Humongousaur over a character like Forearms, Dwayne McDuffie said that Forearms is stronger than Humongousaur in his base form, implying that in his full-size form, Humongousaur is physically more capable than Forearms. If you had a definitive favourite between the two, I can imagine this would be really frustrating as a Forearms fan, having a new stronger alien coming in and filling the same stronger role. Though to me, and this is more of a personal opinion and my perception, I feel like Forearms is probably a better fighter, seemingly being more versatile. Beyond that, I really like Humongousaur's design. I won't touch upon Ultimate Humongousaur because that's sort of getting to that way big level of power. That and the pattern I'm noticing that I can hardly get through a video without bringing up the Ultimates. But hey, they are my favourite gimmick across the franchise. Probably the most impactful use of Humongousaur is Ben's complete and utter beating he gives Agrigor after he absorbs the Andromeda aliens. This fight really stands out in the franchise as Ben not trying to win a fight, but just trying to hurt Agrigor as much as he possibly can. It's not about defeating him, it's just about making him suffer. This could have been done with most transformations, I suppose, but there's something about this enormous alien dinosaur yelling, "You want some more?" as Agrigor is laid out in a destroyed building. Though Agrigor does get right back up, saying he didn't really feel anything. Next up we have a slight step away from physical strength in Ben's Frankenstrike transformation. Likely the most thematically interesting strong guy in the Omnitrix. His electromagnetism sort of outshines the strength of this transformation, though Omniverse tends to lean to the strength aspect more than the classic ever did. Beyond that, he has a huge glow up in his redesign for Omniverse, remaining humanoid but really stylistically leaning into how monstrous and bulky the species is. This is one that really could have done with more screen time. He is being criminally underused. No absolute standout fights for this transformation for me. In Classic, the transformation's introduction was rather impactful, but he didn't really get to use his strength all that much. It was more of a Dragon Ball Z style energy fight between him and Zaskia. As brief as it was, I think the fight between Phil and Frankenstrike was really fun. The way he imbues his fist with electricity with each punch is a really fun way of fighting, really visually interesting. Looking back at it now, Frankenstrike doesn't really have the same impact the others on this list have. He's a nice addition, not replacing the role of Forearms or Humongousaur, but giving us a new tough guy that sets himself apart. Stepping up with the impact factor that I was talking about, we've got our next alien, an absolute fan favourite, Wrath. Visually, he's not all that distinct. Other than his wrist spikes, he's a humanoid tiger. What really elevates his transformation is the charisma and physicality. Wrath is just oozing with personality, so much so that he's literally the one transformation that alters Ben's personality. I know he isn't, but he manages to feel near indestructible. He's the most argumentative and abrasive character in the series. I say character because he's bordering on his own character separate from Ben. That doesn't necessarily sound great, but let me tell you something, it's very endearing. I'm so sorry for that. His speech pattern and personality has become so iconic. I love while in this transformation, Ben can jump from aggressive to polite in the blink of an eye. This transformation tends to punch well beyond his weight, taking on opponents who look more fitting for transformations like Waybig or Humongousaur, while managing to somehow make everything look so effortless. He's not really known for his sheer strength, being more of a bruiser, but he seems to be pretty comparable in strength to Forearms. It's hard to narrow down just one favourite moment for Wrath. More than any fight, I like the brief moments of dialogue during fights that Wrath always has, or really any observation he has that he puts into words. If I were to pick just one fight, it'd be his fight against the Circus Freak trio. It's so silly and you really get to see how dynamic a fight with a cat alien can be. Next up we have one I have a real soft spot for, Armadillo. This is another alien where strength is only one of his major abilities. Armadillo being able to transform his arms into drills is a way of tunneling through the ground or strike enemies in combat, even be able to create huge earthquakes, able to just level enormous areas. I think more than any other strong guy alien, Armadillo just has such a sense of durability to him. He just feels so solid, like he feels just like a walking tank. I mostly just like him for his design. His physicality is just so appealing, there's just such a sense of weight behind him. Not to mention the DNA source for him, Andreas is one of my favourite aliens and the best Andromeda alien in my opinion. He's just such a gentle giant. I'm going to group together the next two out of convenience, Kickenhawk and Bullfrag. These are the two less physically powerful but very capable hand-to-hand fighters introduced in Omniverse. They both have pretty comparable skill sets, but Bullfrag probably has the better overall power set. I'd say Kickenhawk probably would hit harder though. More than anything, they stand out for Ben's usage of them more than what their species is generally capable of. Kickenhawk's first fight against his DNA sample Liam was really great. Liam always felt a bit one-note, but the direction behind this fight stood out as something really special, even if it only lasted around 30 seconds. Bullfrag manages to feel distinct enough, especially when compared to other incursions. These two are definitely at the bottom of the list when it comes to sheer physical strength, but of the new aliens introduced in Omniverse, they seem to be the two strong guys Ben relies on when not looking at previous strong guys. I by no means consider myself much of a power scaler, but if I were to go off sheer strength, I'd say for these transformations, a full-size humongousaur would come out on top in a competition of pure strength. If you would have a fight with each of these transformations in some kind of tournament, I can see humongousaur overpowering Wrath. Wrath seems like he could probably out-wrestle Forearms. Wrath seems like he'd lose in a fight against Kickenhawk, but I can't see Kickenhawk defeating Forearms in a fight. Even then I can see a world where Forearms outmaneuvers Humongousaur. Frankenstrike seems like he could beat Kickenhawk, but doesn't come across to me like he'd have much luck against any of the other transformations. Maybe Wrath's hair would be conductive and he'd have a harder time dealing with Frankenstrike's electricity. Armadillo feels like he'd be outmaneuvered by just about all of them, but seems more durable as a whole. I really don't know. I have to say I have such a weakness for these ground level strong aliens. I've been referring to them as just strong guys as a joke, but I really think these are complex aliens, despite how simple some of their power sets may be. If there were any stronger aliens I didn't mention and you'd like to hear about, let me know. Otherwise, if you have any opinions on anything I've spoken about today at all, please feel free to leave a comment. Thanks for watching.